I get there, first thing I'm thinking about is trying to get inside because somebody was trapped.
But residents are safe and alive tonight thanks to those first responders who helped them evacuate after a fire erupted and tore through an apartment building this morning.
The fire in the Arapahoe County complex has been deemed accidental, sparking during some cooking. Still, people in 86 of the building's units are left without a home tonight.
One resident telling our Luis DeLeon he had just gotten his apartment after experiencing homelessness.
Folks this afternoon have been in and out of the building that you see behind me to get any personal belongings that they may have. The Arapahoe County Emergency Services Office is sending people to a local library where they can find community resources. Cherry Creek Schools is also helping out there. But for some of the folks that lived in this building, their options are far and few. As a cleanup begins, so does a journey that no one wants to be on.
Right there.
For Omen Cross.
And that was when I heard people running down the hall, screaming, smoke, fire.
It's the journey of figuring out what to do next after a fire at his apartment building on Wednesday. South Metro Fire says it was an accidental cooking fire. 2 people were taken to the hospital, and Cross lived in one of the 86 units that's now uninhabitable. It's also the second fire at the complex since November, when those in another 85 units were displaced.
Come here.
Cross made sure to grab the essentials, like his cat Belle.
She's very small for her age, but she's always been like that.
The level of loss is all too familiar for Cross.
Well, I spent a good long time on the streets in Aurora.
Eventually, he got the car that he's sitting in now to live in, before finally securing this apartment.
That's why it looks the way it does now, is because it's been lived in as a home for the majority of a decade.
Unfortunately, he says it cannot run right now. He acknowledges many people are in his same situation.
All kinds of different people from everywhere that are out on the streets in the cold, and it's heartbreaking.
Trying to keep hope and optimism.
Because you can never prevent chaos. Chaos happens. You just have to deal with it when it comes.
The Red Cross is also responding today, anticipating that they're going to need to provide services that they usually do for a situation like this, things like food, health services, and more. In Arapahoe County, I'm Luis DeLeon for 9 News.
The Arapahoe County Sheriff's Office says a deputy helped rescue a 93-year-old man in that complex. We're going to hear about his heroism tonight on 9 News at 9 and 10.
Today was sentencing day for one of 3 teenagers accused of helping to start a fire in 2020 that killed a family of 5 in northeast Denver. Dylan Siebert was 14 years old at the time when police say that he and 2 16-year-olds targeted that house in Green Valley Ranch. 9 News crime and justice reporter Matt Jablow was in the courtroom for today's emotional sentencing. And Matt, the victims' families weren't happy with that sentence.
Not happy at all, Tom. Siebert pleaded guilty to second-degree murder back in December. Despite pleas from the victims' families that Siebert spend the rest of his life in prison, the judge today accepted the plea deal between prosecutors and the defense and sentenced Siebert to 7 years in prison. Amadou Bey lost his wife and infant daughter in the fire.
We can't be the same anymore. We just not normal anymore. They destroy our life.
It happened in the middle of the night, August 5th, 2020. Police say Siebert joined up with 2 16-year-olds, Kevin Bowie and Gavin Seymour, and set fire to a house on Truckee Street. According to police, Bowie was trying to get back at the person or people who stole his phone during a drug deal a few weeks earlier. Police say a computer app tracking the phone led the teens to the wrong house. In court on Wednesday, Amadou Bey described Siebert as a, quote, monster and the devil, and said he hoped he would die in prison.
I wish he will die soon, and I wish he will die hard, and after he will go straight to hell. And that's what I wish for all of them.
Siebert made a brief statement in court before he was sentenced today, calling what he did, quote, sinful and wrong, asking to be forgiven, and apologizing to the victims' families. Before he begins serving his 7-year prison sentence, Siebert will need to finish the 3-year sentence that he's expected to receive today in the juvenile system. So all told, he'll be in custody for 10 years. Tom?
It was just a terrible crime, and it's never going to bring anyone back, but we still have the rest of those cases to follow. We know you stay on top of it. Thanks, Matt.
The number of road rage calls in Colorado are up. Colorado State Patrol just released stats from 2022. CSP emergency dispatchers report road rage or aggressive driving calls accounted for 54% of the calls they received in 2022. Those 31,000 complaints were 4.5% higher than in 2021. Road rage doesn't always result in violence, but it can. In fact, Wheatridge police are looking for a driver right now who shot out a semi-truck's window on Sunday morning. And detectives say it was due to road rage. If you encounter an angry driver, make sure you let that person move on past you. A Colorado county has lost millions of dollars in an apparent wire transfer fraud scam. Officials with Rio Blanco County say in April, county commissioners awarded a $4 million grant for a reservoir project. And they say that money was given to the Rio Blanco Water Conservancy District, which was then willing to distribute the money. However, at some point, that water district fell victim to the wire transfer scam. The FBI and the banks involved are now investigating.
The complaints about mail service have been mounting in the mountain towns like Steamboat Springs and Buena Vista. The U.S. Postal Service has 600 open positions across our state right now. Now, today and tomorrow, the agency will be holding job fairs, but as 9 News reporter Courtney Yoon tells us, these jobs are not for the mountain towns.
After being unable to work for a year, Richard Smith,
because I need a job,
says it's time for him to start looking for a job.
I got a flyer about this job fair. So that was, it was kind of like exactly what I needed on that day.
He just finished applying to the United States Postal Service at the Jefferson County Workforce Center.
I like the idea of the security of the job.
Starting pay goes up to about $24 an hour.
It's a little lower than I'm used to, but it's manageable.
USPS has also been trying to recruit people to work in the mountains, specifically Steamboat Springs and Silverthorne, where some residents haven't received mail in weeks.
I would deliver mail in the mountains. I love being up in the mountains. I mean, they would have to offer something that would be exceptional just because of the cost of living up there.
James Boxrud, communications specialist for USPS, says because these are national jobs, they can't offer any kind of local incentives to hire people in specific areas.
First, we want to apologize that we haven't met our service standards. We are working really hard to go ahead and get those filled.
Boxrud says around $24 an hour may not sound appealing to job seekers when considering the high cost of living in the high country. That's why they're working with local leaders in Summit County to provide employee housing.
They provide housing for the ski areas and then also for teachers and police and fire. And now they're opening that opportunity for us also.
Opportunities. That's the whole reason why Richard is here.
It seems like a lot of freedom that is still attached to a lot of structure, if that makes sense.
Like a few other mountain towns, residents in Buena Vista weren't receiving their mail for weeks. USPS says they fixed that problem by relocating 4 workers from Colorado Springs. USPS says they're also working to recruit current employees from across the region to come work in Steamboat Springs and the Silverthorne area. There will be another USPS job fair tomorrow from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Adams County Workforce Center.
Yeah, that's something we take for granted. We presume the mail is always going to be there.
Right. And then just there's so many complexities with living in the mountains, the housing crisis, how expensive it is, and trying to get people to work there has proven to be kind of difficult. But hopefully with some of their new recruitment efforts, they'll be able to get some more staff up there shortly.
All right, Courtney, thank you.
The base interest rate for many loans and credit cards in our country is going up once again. We'll tell you how much and if this could finally be the last time.
And could grocery prices soon be coming down, at least for some shoppers?
And he's made plenty of appearances since becoming CU's new football coach. Today, though, Deion Sanders held his first official news conference. We'll take you there later in sports.